Good afternoon, guys. Welcome to NMS. Let's talk biceps. So how do we grow big biceps? Okay, biceps are a little bit complicated, so we've got to understand a little bit about the anatomy first. Okay, so let's go through some anatomy and also understand that there's more to the actual elbow flexors. That means like flexing the elbow than the actual biceps. Okay, the biceps are part of that, but we've got to understand the full anatomy. If we do that, then we'll have better arms in the process. Okay, so let's start off with anatomy of the biceps. Okay, so there's two heads to the biceps, hence the word bi. The long head, which is the outer head of the bicep, okay, now it joins onto the supraglenoid tubercle of the scapula, which is above the shoulder joint. Okay, so it joins in up here. Okay, the outside head of the bicep is the actual one that gives the peak. Okay, so that peak comes from this head. Okay, so when we build that head, we do get a greater bicep peak. It crosses the shoulder and the elbow joint, which means that it assists in both elbow flexion and shoulder flexion. Okay, it's not a main shoulder flexor, but it does aid in that process. Now then we've got the other bicep head, which is the short head. Okay, so that's the inside head. The origin is the Coracoid process of the scapula, okay, so a different point. It is the inside of the bicep and contributes most to the overall thickness. In other words, when you actually were to measure your arm, that inside head would actually contribute more to the thickness of the bicep. The action of the bicep is elbow flexion and supination, turning the palm from that position to that position, okay, so that's supination. Now, the insertion of the bicep head is the same, the radial tuberosity and bicipital aponeurosis of the forearm bones. Okay, so basically it joins onto the radius. The main functions of the bicep head, as already said, elbow flexion, forearm supination, okay, and shoulder flexion. Quite simple. So what are the supporting muscles of the elbow for flexion? Okay, the brachialis, which is the muscle that sits underneath the bicep. So you got the bicep and then you got this muscle here. Okay, it lies beneath the bicep. The origin is the front of the humerus. Okay, so it actually joins onto the humerus bone, not onto the shoulder joint. And the insertion is the ulna, so it actually joins onto this inner bone, not the outer bone. Okay, the function is pure elbow flexion without supination and is a big contributor to arm thickness. Now, because it runs from the humerus to the radius, the function is all elbow flexion and it's strongest in this position, right? The neutral grip position, okay? So similar to a hammer curl. So what are the best exercises for the biceps, the brachialis and the brachialis radialis? Okay, simple, incline curls. This exercise puts the bicep at a stretch position, okay? So because it joins up there and because this is actually a bicep stretch, it creates more tension in the bicep. Movements that put this upper arm slightly behind the torso are the best movements for it. So you can also do that with a cable curl with the arm behind the torso. All you do is step back from the low cable, okay, and that's how you do it. These are much like incline curls, so if you're doing an incline curl, you could do the cable curl as another movement on maybe another workout, okay? But I wouldn't be doing the two on the same workout. Easy curl bar or dumbbell curl. Now basically, okay, standing up or sitting down, but the elbow is by the side, right? These don't necessarily give a good stretch to the bicep, okay, like the incline curl, but they can actually allow you to lift more weight. So the actual mechanical tension that they can put on the bicep is greater. They just don't, unfortunately, load the bicep as much in a stretch position. Preacher curls, okay. Preacher curls I find very good for that inner head, okay. And I turn my arms in a little bit. But the good thing about the preacher curl is it creates maximum tension in the stretch position because your arm's like this, not down by your side, okay? So your arm is actually stretched out with gravity. You put a lot of tension on it. You've got to be really careful with preacher curls though. They can actually cause bicep tears. Now hammer curls, okay, very good for targeting the brachialis and brachialis radialis. and a chin up in a supinated grip, but you've got to make sure you stay upright, and you've also got to make sure that you actually don't you don't lean back too much. So what is a good program based on the current research? Okay, here's 2 plans I can give you. Okay, now you could run these together as like an alternating plan, and by doing this you would hit the biceps and you would hit the brachialis and the brachialis radialis. Okay, so plan 1 would be an incline dumbbell curl. That's obviously to get that nice stretch on the outside head of the bicep. Okay, that would be working on your peak. Turn your elbows out a little bit, or your hands out a little bit, and then you'll get more of a stretch on them. An easy bar curl, okay, so just a standing easy bar curl, okay, get a nice load on the biceps, lift a little bit more weight, and then finally a hammer curl, okay, and that hits the brachialis and brachialis radialis. 2 to 3 sets of 6 to 12 reps is what the research says. Plan 2 would be behind the body cable curl, very similar to an incline curl. Preacher curl to get that maximum tension in the bottom position, and then a chin up with a supinated grip, obviously a vertical position and focusing more on the elbow flexion rather than using your back. Okay, all of them, once again, 2 to 3 sets of 6 to 12 reps. Okay, so what do I do for biceps? My first workout, okay, because I do 2 workouts a week, I do easy bar preacher curls, 2 sets of 6 to 12 reps. I get that nice stretch in the bottom position. Incline dumbbell curls, once again, hit the long head of the bicep. Now with preacher curls, I keep my hands in a little bit, and with the incline dumbbell curls, I actually turn my hands out. Okay. Then I also do a reverse curl. Now I like reverse curls basically with an easy curl bar, because it's like a hammer curl, but it focuses more on the brachialis radialis. Okay. On my workout 2, I do standing easy bar curls, obviously to get a bigger load on the muscles, and I do an alternating hammer curl. Now, with the alternating hammer curl, the reason I do that is because I lean to one side, I get a straight line through where the actual brachialis joins and where it actually joins down onto the ulna, and it prevents getting elbow tendonitis on the brachialis radialis, or basically tennis elbow. Okay, little tip on that one. Now, what are some notes on form and execution? Most important, number 1, elbow flexion is the majority of the movement for biceps, so make sure you're going from full extension to full contraction. Avoid using the shoulders when doing a curl, as this will rob tension from the arms. Number 3, be aware of volume from training back when putting together a bicep program. You got to remember, guys, when you're doing your back, it's still using your arms, so try not to have too much volume in your bicep workout. Okay, some people like to do a pull workout where they do biceps with back. Personally, I don't like doing that, because with the amount of exercise you do for back, I like to give my biceps a little bit more. Them being a weak point for me, I want to focus on them more, so I do them on shoulder day or on chest day. Okay, and make sure to have at least one supination movement. Like in other words, with the incline curls, you can supinate the curl, and one brachialis radialis movement. That could be a hammer curl. I do 2. I do a brachialis movement, which is hammer curl, and a brachialis radialis movement, which is a reverse curl, but with obviously an easy bar curl, right? And then what I do is I actually have my hands in that position, which is almost a neutral position, but it actually helps to isolate the brachialis a little bit more, brachialis radialis a little bit more. So guys, when you're doing biceps, keep the form, 100%. Try not to use the shoulders. Try not to do extra movements on it, unless of course you've hit failure and you want to get maybe 1 or 2 extra reps. But form is critical on biceps. A lot of people use too much weight, and that's why their arms don't grow. Thanks for listening, guys. I'm going to put together some shorts from this video, but this main video is only on YouTube. Thanks for listening, guys. Like, comment, subscribe to my channel, and I'm going to be putting a lot more information on different sort of ways to train, as well as on nutrition and everything to do with, you know, trying to build muscle, lose body fat. Subscribe, and there'll be a lot of useful information for you guys. Thanks for listening.